Copy. Okay, so I'm going to record this via QuickTime as well because I had Aurora on my own screen the entire time. So assuming that this one may have some issues as well, we'll just do the same thing. Same thing. And I just need to invite her. Somehow we will clear the toilet one of these days. One of these days the toilet bowl will get scrubbed up, cleared. One of these days it's gonna happen. Okay, link has been sent. And we are recording, and hopefully everything works flawlessly. This is our intention, that we have no issues. Hello. You made it. I can't hear you. You need to click on your audio. There you go.
Got it?
Got it.
Hey.
You're
Got
here.
it.
You made it.
I made it.
Yeah,
I nearly stood you up, Gary.
Huh?
I nearly stood you up.
Almost. No, you didn't. That was my fault.
No.
I thought I thought you guys had daylight savings nonsense as well, but apparently you don't, or not this time, not today.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It's like 2 weeks later or something, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not sure what day.
Well, whatever. You're here now, so welcome. We've got everybody.
Thank you.
So we are live, and we have all of the people here. There's 10 with us right now, but that will probably go up. Can you guys see us, the viewers? Do we have visual? I just want to get a confirmation on that. I think the visual is working. It might be a little choppy, but I'm recording it on my computer as well, and I can see you, and you're not choppy at all. So at the minimum, we can upload it, and it will work that way.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. What do you have to share? What's the latest?
What's the latest? Coronavirus is a big one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And female and male consciousness and how we copy how our male and female consciousness actually how they interact with one another is a direct reflection on our mothers. So we have male consciousness and we have female consciousness. Everyone has this. And they're supposed to work together in harmony and support one another, blah, blah, blah. But that actually generally is not the case. And whatever is going on with our male and female consciousness is then projected out in relationships. So, for instance, if your male and female consciousness is fighting with one another, or doesn't trust, or there's issues with that, then we'll project that and draw relationships like that into our lives.
Right. It seems like they have always been trying to antagonize one another, at least in how they've been presented. Just the very basic male stereotype, or how a male is supposed to be versus how a female is supposed to be. It seems like that's one of the biggest hullabaloos, I guess you could say. Like feminism, that whole thing completely and then the pronoun thing that's going on now, all of the LGBTQ, all the letters that came in. I feel like this stuff mainly is just to confuse the issues. It's not. I don't think it's an overblown thing for the amount of people that are actually one of these letters is very tiny compared to the whole population. They don't deserve, that doesn't deserve that much attention, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of role models, you know?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing.
Very.
But, yeah, I mean, for me, anyway, when I look at somebody and I'll look at their female energy, all that holds is what they want, what they need, what they desire, what they love, what they would like to create, and the male energy actually creates it. So when I go inside the matrix where our light bodies are, it's the male that actually creates this reality, and all the other little realities is the male energy.
That's very interesting. So the female would have to affect the male to have any say in how things get manifested.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the female, he creates the reality from what the female communicates to him. That's why the male energy is very, very grounding and protective, because the female energy is emotional and it needs protecting in order to able to express. And that happens within us and then also in relationships as well. So that's why the male energy is very protective, and it's the doer. It creates what the female wants.
Could you explain I saw the video that you did about coronavirus. Could you explain that a little bit, what you saw? You said you went in and looked at it, right? Could you reiterate what you saw exactly when you looked at that? Because it's just so in our faces right now that I think to clarify it down to something more simple would be helpful for people.
Okay, so the last journey we did, Toto and I went inside the matrix where we are creating this reality. So all the light bodies inside the egg-shaped holodome, and then saw all the consciousness inside the matrix. And I saw shiny black energy, and I went into that shiny black energy, and it's not natural at all. And what I saw is that they're testing for this shiny black energy, but this black energy, the virus, is actually mutated, and there was another black energy underneath. So what I saw is when people were getting better, or what was happening was the virus was mutating into another virus, which would come back later, at a later date, and be more deadly, I suppose. But what I also saw, this virus is down to beliefs. Now, consciousness is way stronger than this virus. But if we are in victim mode, or if we believe we're going to get this, or we're not standing, we don't believe our own power, then this virus we're more vulnerable to this virus. Mm-hmm. So the media and how they're doing it is making everybody fearful and everything like that is not, you shouldn't react to it at all. Right.
So are you saying, though, that it's fully belief? It's fully just they're giving cues, and if you react appropriately via fear, then you may manifest it. But if you don't, are you saying you feel like there would be no manifestation?
No, I'm sure this virus is real in the fact that it's a man-made chemical or whatever. But if you get this virus and you believe you're going to die, or you have no power, then you're more vulnerable to that.
I got you.
I don't think you can actually manifest it in your body in that way. It would have to be passed on, but it would only take hold if there was a belief there. And when I was speaking to Gaia, which is Gaia is consciousness of I think within she was saying that the overall, collectively, human consciousness is in a victim mode. It is not self-powered. It's been so programmed that it has to be governed and looked after. and that until we stand up and say no more, that this, you know, and believe in ourselves. And really this is getting in touch with our masculine energy. Our masculine energy is what protects us. And if we don't believe in that protection, we don't believe in ourselves, then that's the place we need to get to, where we need to believe in ourselves.
Right.
Because I suppose viruses have been around, but if you look at all illnesses, that it's all down to beliefs. You know, that's why everything gives you cancer and everything like that. So you have to have the belief there in order to get it, create it. We create reality. So it's like this goes in line with, you know, ETs and ghosts and everything like that. You're not going to experience it in this reality unless the belief is there in the first place.
Right. Unless you can imagine it. It's almost like you can't see it unless you can first imagine it, which seems backwards, but it's very strange to try to pinpoint exactly how, like, we manifest this reality if we do, like, from the inside, because we're in the projection, you know, we're not consciously. That's what we've been trying to do, is remember back into the bodies, right, that are in, you know, the matrix, the light bodies, trying to remember back into, like, that feeling so you can project something different, but it's blocked. Like, there are lots of blocks that stop us from going back and projecting out from there. I know we are here as well. You can manifest from here, but it's almost like since the programs are all invisible to us, it's hard to see, like, what's stopping your dreams. You know, it's just, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a reasonable reality here, and it's like walking through mud or something.
Yeah, the programs work on. The only way they can program you is through trauma. So you'll go through a trauma, and then your consciousness will split, and they just take a small part of your consciousness and place it in a program. You where you are, Gary, where everybody is at this point in time in your life, in your body, you have the most power here. I've gone in, I've looked at people with programs, and you know, even though part of their consciousness is still in that program, they're not being affected by that program. It's like, oh yeah, I got that over like a few years ago and stuff like that. So the programs are not as powerful as you in your core now.
Yeah, that's
so
good news.
yeah,
that's a good thing.
but it just, yeah, very good.
Do you feel that it's necessary even for us to, because what you have is, I feel like it's something very unique. I've never seen somebody say that they can actually visually go into the matrix and see the light bodies and interact with technology that are on them and stuff like that. For those of us that can't do that, which is probably most of us, what do you think is a decent way of manifesting if we don't have access to that sort of like root level of programming consciously?
Well, you're manifesting all the time, Gary. So it's like if there's areas of your life that you're not liking, then it's just a case of reflecting on that. And what I saw recently in the last week is that the heart, when I look at the female consciousness, which represents, you know, our hearts and the physical body, you can get like 70. I was looking at one female, and she was 70% of all the stuff that she wanted in her life. But there was fear in her heart, and this was set by a trauma that happened a few years back. But what was interesting, that the male consciousness doesn't understand fear; it will just manifest what female is saying, what it's projecting out, what it's communicating. So she was manifesting her fears as well as what she wanted. So it's actually, looking back and finding really the trauma. So when I go in and explain what I'm seeing and help understand and break that trauma down, and that's really to get that person to understand what happened and get that consciousness moving again. But you can do this with yourself, just talking and reflecting on your life and where things went wrong, and lots of, you know, people would come to me and they're struggling, generally there's something that set that off, a trauma of some sort. So it's really reflecting and understanding oneself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does really come down to, for me, being okay with, like, actually being the programmer. I think people, that's the main fear, is they're like, people are like, oh, I can actually, like I actually can do something, I can actually make choices in my life, and I can construct my life around myself, because that's a scary thing if you've been in, like you said most of the people are in victim mode, they're in like scared or too much traumas or something. So to come out of that, for most people, even I still have vestiges of the trauma that I've been through, and it comes out when I have free time, like, because we don't have like, when you jettison all of the programs of society and you have a moment of free time to yourself, you're hit with that big ol', like, what do I do with myself? How do I fit into whatever is going on outside? It's a big thing to have to like sit with, I think, and find out exactly what you should be doing with your time.
Yeah, and I suppose it's listening to yourself, isn't it? And not outside influences of this is what you should do. And a lot of people listen to their parents or society, and actually it's like, well, what do you want to do? What makes you happy? What do you want to create?
Right.
Yeah, but we get like socially conditioned, or this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to get married, I'm supposed to have kids, or I'm supposed to be doing this job, this is what's going to make other people happy, this is how I'm supposed to fit in. A lot of people get stuck in that.
Do you feel like
going out the cycle?
Do you feel like personally for yourself that you're living in the way that you wish to be, or do you feel like you still have blocks? Do you feel like you're pretty free?
Yeah, I'm always working. I'm still as fucked up as everybody else. But no, yeah, I do the best I can every day, and but there's still dealing with even myself, like still deal with the stuff that comes up. A lot of healing still comes up, and I have an amazing partner, Toto, and we help each other and try to understand, and it's a journey.
You said his name is Toto?
Yeah, Toto.
Does he have, like, what's his gift? Like, if your gift is seeing into that, being able to see into the matrix directly, what does he have? Like, what is he able to do?
He's an amazing man. He can see. So when we started working a few years ago, I'd get him to ask him to scan people, and he would just scan, and it'd pick up like implants, emotional issues, belief patterns, and just can see people. He's amazing at seeing people.
How did you meet him?
We met over Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, I was over Facebook. Yeah, it was like friends. There was some common friends we had, so we started chatting, and then we started working together quite quickly. I'd just gone through like being attacked by black magician and stuff, and during that time I was getting like entity like attached and stuff like that, and I'd learned through that time how to detach entities and stuff like that. And then people started coming to me like asking for help, and then he helped me. He'd scan them and go this, and he was also in contact with ETs and stuff like that, so he introduced me to different energies in this reality that could help, and so it was different back then, but yeah, it was really a big learning curve. Couldn't have done it without him.
So would you say that, like, your position as kind of helping people, that kind of just happened to you as you started peering past some of the veils and blocks? It wasn't something like you're like, oh, I'm gonna like teach people how to remove, high-tech implants in the etheric.
No, I did not choose. I did not make a conscious decision at all. Just naturally happened. So I went, it's just gone through loads of stuff, and then people just started to come to me, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't go, oh, okay, I'm going to start doing this. No, it wasn't like that at all. So,
And it's like
I didn't have a choice.
It's your own thing too, right? Like, it's not, you don't even have like a name for your practice, right? Do you call it something? No.
Yeah, no, I don't have a name for what I do. Deprogrammer, I don't know. I'm Becky.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah.
A deprogrammer, or I don't know. No, I haven't called myself anything.
Do you think it's similar to like the actual movie The Matrix? Do you think it is? Do you think they're sort of accurate in having people in pods? You know, like Neo's in a pod, you know, and he's got all these suctions attached to his body, and he's not even aware when he's in the Matrix that he has another body. Do you think that's roughly accurate?
When I see the light bodies, they're not in pods, they're actually standing, but what they're standing on is like an electrical current, which actually causes, how I perceive is what actually causes the separation in us in this reality, where we don't connect so easily to one another, to Earth, to each other. So I see that. I see like drones that go by and that scan the light bodies, and when they scan them, they've got numbers on them. You know, when people see occurring numbers all the time, it has something to do with that. Then they can put implants into the light body, and that would affect all the realities that consciousness is living. So they attack both, but male and female consciousness. But it's not like pods. I don't see it like pods.
Do you see human? Do the light bodies look human to you, or does it just look like a sphere of light or something like that?
No, it's a human form, but they seem giant. They seem way bigger than we are.
Yeah, that was another question I wanted to ask was if you can put a relative size onto this egg-shaped machine, is there any way you could do that?
Or God, no.
Compared to the size of the...
Gary, no.
Or if you like compared to the size of a human.
No, I wouldn't know.
No size whatsoever?
No.
That's fascinating.
No. But there are many, there's many matrices. I can't remember now how many. It's like 12 or something. So there's like 12 matrices, like these eggs. And then there's like this huge electrical box. And at the top of the electrical box, quite interesting, it was just like a program. I thought it was a program at first. And it's just like AI attached to it. So you've got all the AI spiders, just really crappy energy. And then I was working on a gentleman, and he was directly attached to this AI at the top of the box, and that all the matrices are in. And then I realised that because this program, what it radiated was control, manipulation, and abuse. And I was like, I want to tear the thing down.
Right.
And Toto was like, no, we can't do that. So we had a big discussion and started to leave it. And then realised recently, a few weeks ago, that the AI covering this, actually within it is female consciousness. And above it is male consciousness. So it looks like when we're consciousness and we come inside the box, and I think originally this was like a play area for consciousness to have fun, create realities, and but we would always be hooked into a female-male consciousness. But that's been overtaken by AI. And what this has done, which that came up in the journey, is made us forget who we are. Mm-hmm. That we forget that we're conscious beings. And also what I've seen is that the AI, once the male and the female consciousness comes together, that power will break up all the AI in the electrical cube and will turn off the matrix. That's what that's what I've seen, and that's what I hope will happen.
Do you feel like AI is something that was created alongside of all of the manifest beings, or do you feel like we as beings actually did create what we call the AI, or is it just like an antithesis of like the organics of regular humans? Is it ancient, or is it like
this? I believe that. Well, what I've seen on a few journeys is that this box with the matrix in was actually a good place. It was a good place for consciousness to come and have fun. But then consciousness from outside of the box got involved. Now, I don't know much about this consciousness, but they brought in the AI, the manipulation, control, and abuse. And it slowly built up over time, and we lost the connection of who we are. And yeah. So consciousness, what it looks like, consciousness created it, but we haven't got to the root of it. It seems like everything in this box is imprisoned by the AI. Yeah. So the likelihood is going outside of the box. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Male and female consciousness needs to come together in order to overturn the AI. And that's what's not happening in this reality. You know, male consciousness generally is way more lost than female consciousness. Female consciousness can be so traumatized that it can't express. There's so many issues. And we have those issues within ourselves, and then we also project that out into our reality. That's why our reality is a mess. And those weaknesses that we have is what the matrix works on. That's what it programs on. That's why you can get in like implants and programming into us, because we're not united in those energies. Right. Once we unite with inside ourselves and then project that out, they really haven't got, they can't work, because our protection is so low, because the male consciousness is so low, and there's so much trauma in the female side as well.
Do you think, okay, I always have the internal question that's just like, how do I position myself in this society? I don't even know if you can call it society, because it's so programmed. The people, as they're moving outside, are so programmed, like, you know, and I know that groups try to get torn apart the second, like, if a whole bunch of awake people come together, it's like, that is a thing for the AI to attack. That's a thing for even, like, weaker-willed people to start getting into tiffs about. Like, how do you you think organization is even possible here, as far as toward the greater goal of uniting in the organic sense and healing the male and the female and manifesting what we wish, rather than, you know, this sort of program scripts? Do you think that organization is even possible?
You don't really need to join big. I mean, the most screwed up people I've met have been people who are actually in this like conspiracy, love and lies thing. They get so screwed up with it.
Yeah.
I don't see it as helpful. You know, reading about aliens all the time, stuff like that. To be honest, it's being happy within yourself. And I mean, for me, being in a partnership. So, like my partner Toto, we've done so much healing together, and really, like, you're in a partner, aren't you, Gary? Yeah, you've got you and your girlfriend. But how you interact with one another is a direct reflection on how your energies work within you.
Yeah.
So, say like she's closed off, or you know, she's not, you're not getting the information that she needs. That's like, you need to look at yourself also. There's something within you that's attracted that, but your heart's closed. And then it's also trying to work around that and understand that. So it's like a reflection on you, but also areas like people in relationships can heal so much with the help of each other.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need to like big groups and find out and stuff like that. For me, my perception is the only way that we're going to get anywhere is that we remember who we are, remember these true, authentic energies. Now, these authentic energies, the masculine and feminine, they also create synthetic energies over these. So you've got fake masculine energy and fake female energy. And then, you've got all these shitty energies that we're dealing with. So actually the true energies is what we've got to get in touch with. And they're within ourselves and are reflected on one another. On a mass scale, Gary, like how to save the world and stuff like that, I have no clue. It's just working on an individual level and helping people understand themselves and helping them to realise that whatever they're creating is actually a reflection of their own energies that's going on.
Right.
Or it could be programming as well.
Yeah, I guess it is just a lot of self-reflection. I know for Andrea and I, it's not. Oh, and she's right here. If you want to say hi. Sure. No?
Hi, Becky.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to see you.
Yeah, good, thanks.
You don't have to leave me on there.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I don't have any. I've seen that groups don't work that well. That's what I've seen, and even like my relationship with her or our relationship together it's so complex. It's enough complexity in that one thing that I don't need to worry about the world because like it's reflected through us anyway. Not to mention that like whatever we foster here or nurture here, when we interact with other people, it comes out, and you just sort of like you just exude that energy. It does like. Your reality creates itself around you. Like, if you haven't noticed, it's not like something real far away is real far away. It's in your eye. Like, everything is in your eyeball. Like, if you imagine that, you are somewhere else and you're just in your mind's eye creating something, distance and speed and time, they're all imaginary. Like, yes, it's real. You can feel like you can actually knock on wood, but it's like a dream state. And it's just, what do you want out of it? Like, what, or not necessarily what you want, but what feels correct, what feels... I think going back to the feeling state is important. Yeah.
And also people will react to you through belief systems. So say like you're having a really hard time and people are being, say like you're at work, Gary, and you're having problems with men in your life, so just men have just been awful to you, you've got problems with your dad, problems with friends and stuff like that. That's a direct reflection of, a belief. So people could only say everyone's making you feel inadequate or something. They'd only react to you if that belief you have about yourself. So people react to your beliefs. So say you've got somebody and he's always like making you feel like crap, but he's lovely to everybody else. That's because you have a belief about yourself that he's getting into. He would only react that way if that belief is there.
Right.
Yeah. So that's quite self-empowering because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not a victim. I can change this. And it's changing the negative beliefs that you have about yourself. And those negative beliefs, once broken down, will change your reality again. Yeah. So when I grew up and I was always, I believed I was stupid. So I struggled at school. I was, and I was like the butt of joke of the family always, and it was fun, and I would play up on it. And then I got to a certain age, it was like, hey, I'm not stupid. And but that, it really broke down. I was like, I don't know, in my 20s or something like that. I didn't have to tell everybody, okay, I'm not stupid anymore.
Right.
Just everybody naturally just changed around me.
Yeah.
The way they interacted with me just naturally changed.
Yeah. It's like when you hold the belief that you are inadequate, and I know we all know people like this in our lives. It's almost like you need to respect that person's belief that they're, dumb and, not worthy of anything. And you have to treat them as such. You can't talk to someone who's like, oh, life sucks and, there's no energy for me and I can't do anything. You can't treat them the same way as someone who wakes up and they're like, bring it, what does the world have for me? How would you like to interact with me? Like, it's an entirely different energy, and you can't interact with them the same way. And that is actually, that's their right. Like, if someone is in that belief state that life sucks, like that's their current path. They need that.
Yeah. So that's another thing. We create our reality from our beliefs. So, and it's the same with the virus at the moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like if you believe you're going to get the virus and you believe that is a belief. So we have to be, that's why the programming is also out there, but also in here, and television and media and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, I think if we can differentiate between someone like you and I or versus a talking head on TV, there's no relation there. You can't compare those two. So just don't pay attention to that. Like if you give in to all of the media stuff, you're literally just going to the machine and you're like patting it on the side and you're like, oh yes, keep spitting these things out at me and I'm going to pay attention to you and you can have all my energy. Like that's what you're doing. You don't have to do that. Go pay attention to something that actually like cares about you personally.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Just turn the thing off.
Yeah, turn it off.
Turn it off. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Becky? I know the feed is a little bit not super great, but if anyone has any questions, now would be the time to ask. Do you have too many clients or do you have just enough? Like how many sessions does it flow very naturally?
Yeah, I do 5 sessions a day, and I'm booked up for the next month.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
5 a day.
So you can go to my website and book a session. But yeah, it is a. But I've got kids. I've got 2 small children. So there's holidays. There's Easter coming up and stuff like that. Kind of. So I work in between the kids and stuff. So.
Right. They don't. The people are very quiet. It's been very quiet lately.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm just trying to think of anything like interesting that's been discovered.
I always have tons of questions, but as far as getting out of an incarnation or moving to the next step in one's life, do you feel like there are greater patterns that are just set and we have wiggle room within those patterns? Like you're going to come out of this matrix body incarnation just when it's supposed to happen, or do you feel like we can actually affect it from inside?
So a lot of the light bodies, a lot of us have been here for a long time, just going life after life after life after life, on the belief that we have to be here. That's one reason.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed that above the matrices, there's another like a reality. It's like another dimension that consciousness goes to, and there's no matrix there. And it's all about learning about consciousness. And then above that is a state of oneness. And then we go back into an individual consciousness again. It's like the whole thing is a cycle in itself, and it's like a trap.
Yeah.
So we go to oneness, and it's like, okay, we've got to learn again, and then we'll have to come back into the matrix again, and then it's and the whole thing is a trap.
Even the oneness part, you're saying? You're saying the oneness part is part of the trap?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's unsettling.
And then I've met 2 consciousness that come from outside of the box, and they've evolved and they've realised that the whole thing is the trap in itself. How
would you advise to get out of the trap? I know that we've heard don't go to the light many times, like growing up. I think people have heard of that one, but like as far as getting out of the whole cycle, I guess it's like stepping off of the coil, right? Like the coil of Maya. That's really what we're talking about, right? And finding out like what's on the other side of it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do life after life here because they believe they have to. It's all beliefs. Yeah. So if your consciousness believes it has to, karma and all that crap, if believe you can leave, then you can leave.
So just believe you can.
I mean, the only reason I can get out, or I can see and study and investigate, is one of it because I believe I can do it. That's one reason. If I didn't believe I wouldn't be able to do it.
Right.
So it's
okay.
Down to beliefs.
I got you.
And awareness that there is more to life than being in the matrix. That you need to understand consciously that your consciousness, that you live forever, you can't be destroyed, that you can, and you don't have to do these patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a few questions coming in now. So, the first one is: are you looking at coaching / mentoring anyone on this? I assume that means like, are you interested in working with anybody as far as teaching the methods rather than just like trying to help them with trauma and implants?
Yeah. I have been just on an individual basis with people, and it's really not. I mean, I can't teach people what I do, but I can help them, understand. Just give them little tips and teach them how to do journeys and stuff like that, and get them to believe that they can do it. Because I can't see, for me, I believe everyone can do this. You all travelled into the matrix. You're all creating reality. You all have I'm no different to anybody else. So it's just getting the people to believe that they can do it. Mm-hmm. And, So, okay. Teach people how to do journeys and lots of things. Can't think at the minute. But I've just worked with a couple of people, to be honest.
Okay. But maybe you would be open.
But it's something, But it's still you can book and it would be the same price. Okay. And I might do it. I might develop that where it's like classes that I do over the internet.
Right.
But, finding the time to organise that in a minute.
Okay. Second one was Adriana asks, "Hi Becky, should we be working on balancing our feminine and masculine energies within ourselves, and how can we do this?" That's the second one.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the female, how do you balance the male and female energy? It's learning about what the female and masculine energy is. So the female energy is everything is the heart. It's everything that you want, everything you need, everything you desire. The masculine energy is the doer. So if you're struggling in life, you're not creating the reality that you want, there might be, it may be a problem on the masculine side. If you've got no feelings or whatever, it's just, how would you balance them? It's becoming aware and reflecting and understanding. And it's also becoming conscious of your relationships around you. If you've got issues with females in your life, then it will generally mean that you've got an issue with your female energy, your heart energy. If you generally have issues with males in your life, you'll have an issue with your male energy. Everything's a reflection.
So the male is like the active component, and the female is the needs component, kind of like that.
Yeah, the desires, wants, what it wants to bring.
The female will say, "I need" or "I want this," and the masculine will go.
She's like really demanding. Yeah. This is what I want, and the male's like, "Okay."
I want everything.
I've
heard that one before. Aurora is out. Do you know? Are you aware of Aurora or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I know. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I do know that name. Yeah. I'm sure we've had a session. Yes.
Yeah.
She's English.
She's Flying Rainbow Lasagna. She's actually here in California. What's the name of the city?
Oh, okay. Okay, it's another Aurora.
It's another. There are actually a few Auroras, but I had her on because I misjudged the time, so I had an hour to kill before, so I basically had a show with her.
Oh, is that who you were talking to before?
Yeah.
I missed. I was busy putting kids to bed, so sorry I missed that.
I figured. No problem. Thomas is asking what caused us to be. He said it in pods, but like what caused us to be in the matrix in the first place, like as light bodies, like what? That's what he's asking, I think. As light bodies, why are we in there in the first place?
Yeah. Why are we here? We're kind of stuck in a cycle of when I do see other consciousness. When I look at a group of consciousness, it's in a sphere, and we go in there, like plug into like a computer game. It's like, okay, we'll go in and try that reality. Mm-hmm. So it would be very different to Earth. It would be something very different.
Yeah.
So you plug into a group of consciousness and play, come into it like a computer game. And what I've seen is that the Matrix slowly takes over these realities. It happens very slowly. And before you know it, you're stuck in. And the matrix comes with belief patterns, God programs to disempower the consciousness to get it to stay and to forget who they are.
So
it happens very slowly.
Yeah. So maybe it's... Oh, did I skip someone's question? Oh. Sorry, Carl. Didn't mean to do that. He's asking, how do you break down belief systems, and is it through differing experiences or just energetically?
No, becoming aware of negative belief systems, that's one. And then seeing it from a different perspective, that's two. And also when I work with people, I can work at that specific point in their consciousness. So I'll go to where the belief system, if that was 4 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, and go to that consciousness and get that part of that consciousness to understand more, so that consciousness can unbreak out that belief. But also talking to the person in this reality where they are, their point of consciousness. And because a lot of people have negative beliefs and not conscious of it. Shit just happens to them.
Yeah.
And and when you become conscious of it, then you're more empowered to do something about it.
Right. Bruce asks, in your sessions, do we need sound and vision, or is it done via the telephone or text, like Messenger, or is it Skype, or how do you do? I know when you did ours, we just did Zoom like we're doing right now. Oh no, we didn't. We did Skype. We just did audio, right?
Yeah, just audio. I get too distracted by people's faces, so
right.
It's just WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
I use
just audio.
Yeah.
Mayan galactic signatures help. Also, flying rainbow lasagna dancing. Yeah, Aurora teaches a method of. She calls it the flying rainbow lasagna dance, and it's like she has this picture. It's like a DNA type shape thing that in her mind's eye is like vibrating in a certain way, and she teaches a method that has you do conscious movements, and you are it's like a framework for movement where you're kind of like moving in a way that can't be grabbed onto so easily by the matrix and other belief systems. It's kind of like a freedom dance, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
That's her thing that she teaches.
Interesting.
But like, it's the same thing. Like, everything is a belief system. So like, if someone's like, here, do this, and then this will happen, you still have to take that thing and decide, do I want this, don't I want it, and then how you work with it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the matrix, it can only get through like belief systems or insecurities or trauma. So it's, it is looking at them and changing that.
Right. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot more for you tonight. Or I guess it's tonight for you, right? Is it bedtime for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I need bedtime. But it's been lovely. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. Maybe one last question. Becky, are you able to get a sketch of the Matrix system machine? Could you draw it?
Yeah, I've this amazing guy. He's done drawings actually for me. He's done like inside the Matrix. I'll have to get that out. So yeah. I can print that.
I would like to see.
I'll post that up.
Okay.
So it's he's done a drawing of because you've got consciousness, you've got Gaia, and inside the Matrix is like an egg-shaped dome, and then in the middle you've got Gaia, and then universal energies, the masculine energy protecting that, and then all around that is all the light bodies. And then you've got all the rooms with all the programming, so where they've split the consciousness, they've placed it in a program. And then you've got consciousness at the top, like a spidery consciousness that is uses consciousness to get into the collective, which projects here as the elite at the top of the royal family.
Right.
So yeah, he's done a picture of that. I'll put that up on my Facebook page and website.
Cool.
Something I need to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, Becky. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Gary. You take care. Lovely to chat.
Yep. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That's that. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I just need to... Seems like we have all adhered to unnatural society and cultural behaviors and beliefs. The more honest we can be, the more we unravel and break these belief systems. Yeah, I think it's a lot about being self-honest. Self-honesty is very important. Because if it's all belief systems, then there's no such thing as a lie, right? Which means that you have to take a very close look at what you think is true. And I think it's just aligning. Don't let there be little flippy floppy parts. Get stable. So, I would like to see a drawing of her matrix.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe you can draw it.
I can't see it yet. Still working on being able to see it.
Maybe that's how you'll see it. Because the other one came out, right? Those eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely part of it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time, okay? Peace.